Come join Paul and Mario at Diamond Hawk Golf Course Saturday, September 11th for the #Sports Not So Invitational. Come golf with these idiots in this 4-person scramble, which will feature golf with cart, dinner, hole-in-one contest, silent auction, and a live show with all proceeds benefiting Matthew 25 Farms. Registration could be found in the description of this video, and if you'd like to sponsor, email us at htagsports@gmail.com to help raise money for this great charity.
You?
Are you signing up for that?
I'm not. Yeah.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Paul from #Sports. Hey, let's talk a little bit about Duke Williams and Forrest Lamp, huh? I guess it was bound to happen. So Duke Williams has kind of been featured in the last couple preseason games. I'm not going to say he looked great, right? But I think kind of when you see the pecking order, how things were going, it was kind of just writing on the wall, right? You kind of knew where this was going to be going. Unfortunately, it's the way it is. You kind of knew where it was going to be going. Matthew Harmon. Let's see here. The Duke is dead. Long live the Duke. It was an adventurous time. It was an adventurous couple seasons here in Buffalo. Let's be honest, guys. With the amount of people that Buffalo brought in at the wide receiver position while Duke's tenure was here, you just kind of had to assume that this was going to be how it went. And this is how it went. Matthew Harmon says, Kumaro, wide receiver 6, wide receiver special teams. Yeah, this is one of those moments where you kind of look at this and say, okay, when you look at the depth chart, Duke Williams being gone, it kind of makes a bunch of sense here, right? It really does. How much on special teams can he contribute? Well, Kumaro's put in 100 snaps on special teams in each of his last 3 seasons. So you're kind of expecting that. It does beg the question of who do you want to play those additional special team snaps? You're probably not going to keep special teams running back, right? If you're going to keep Breida, if you're going to keep Moss, and you're going to keep Singletary, those 3 backs, you're not really getting a lot from a special teams end from any of those. So if that's the case, where are you getting those special team snaps elsewhere? And it's obviously Duke Williams was obviously not going to be part of that conversation. It's totally understandable and totally reasonable. Let's see here. Let's everybody give one big angry sports fan. Duke. You have to say it was kind of fun. John Veneron is absolutely right. The writing was on the wall for Duke Williams, and it's not like it wasn't a talent issue. Talent certainly wasn't the problem with Duke Williams. Plenty of talent. Got featured in a near the end of the season, a couple seasons ago. Physical enough, right? Now the question is, why do you waive him now? Well, first off, by waiving a player, that means that any team can pick him up on his current deal, which I have to imagine that somewhere somebody's going to snag him just at least for a look. And Apex, who hosts Tailgate Talk, now seen at 7:30 Eastern Standard Time here on the #Sports Network, says it was a good cut. Duke wasn't making the team or practice squad. This lets him try and catch on elsewhere. What it also does is, yeah, you're right. It does let him try and catch on somewhere now while rosters are still pretty big and before teams have to start cutting down to 53 players. Right. This is kind of a favor to Duke to let him go now to see if he can snatch on somewhere else. It's a very different conversation with Forrest Lamp, but we'll get there in just a moment. Let's see here. Aaron Clark says, didn't seem like Duke fought enough for the spot, aggressive at times, but not enough. I guess that's sort of the interesting thing about Duke is you expect him to be a really, really physical player, and he became a better blocker. He was kind of in college, he really wasn't very interested in run blocking very much at all, but I think Buffalo did a good job of getting that out of him. Even with that said, you've addressed that position elsewhere, right? Duke gave you something that you didn't have when you had just Cole Beasley and John Brown. He gave you size. You didn't really have that at the time. So you're like, well, I don't know if we need the size, but let's just have it in our back pocket in case we do. Well, you've had that for a couple seasons now, and it's a resource you haven't had to tap yet, right? It's not an Ike Butker who had to come in and start for you last season. Even if there was an injury at the wide receiver position, Duke really wasn't going to be a major contributor for you. So allowing him to jump on somewhere now makes a lot of sense. And there's also a very large part where he gives another team a near base minimum deal. That's it. Matthew Harmon. Duke's deal was only for $780,000. Doesn't really save you any money. Doesn't cost you any money. It is what it is. I hate to say that, but as the fact of the matter is, it is what it is. Makes sense that Duke is gone. He wasn't going to make your football team. Even if you had injuries, you probably have the depth to absorb. You need special teams players at your wide receiver position. Duke really wasn't that at the position you were going to keep him at. And it's probably going to clear a spot for one of your kick returners, right? Marquez Stevenson, I know Tommy, who's featured with Mike on our Tailgate Talk on Fridays at 7:30. He's a big Marquez Stevenson fan, and I understand, but a little injury at the wide receiver position came up, grabbing the leg. You don't want to put a player on IR this early in the season, because if you put a player on IR, it means they're done, right? Well, here we are. Let's talk about Forrest Lamp. Forrest Lamp, who I had tabbed as a really, really, really good chance of starting at guard on this team, is now done for the year. Black Ocean Society just says Davis fills the role as the possession receiver. Absolutely right. Gabe Davis made that, made him pretty expendable, Duke Williams. With all that being said, Forrest Lamp is now on the IR, which means he cannot be brought back. We had the same thing with Voshan Joseph a few years ago, where he was put on IR, and then once you're put on IR before the 53-man roster is designated, then you're done for the year. Now, if you put on IR after the 53-man roster, so the way it works is, let's say the Bills wanted to keep Forrest Lamp, and it was likely he would be back this year. They would keep him for now, right? He'd have to make the 53-man roster, and then they put him on an IR afterwards. The Bills ended up doing some roster moves like that last year, and that's why Andre Roberts was cut. And then once they moved a couple players to IR after the 53-man roster, they signed Andre Roberts back. It was just some roster management. No roster management here. By putting Forrest Lamp on IR now, that's his season. He is done. The Bills, in corresponding moves, did not bring in another offensive lineman. So they brought in Kereth White. It's Kereth. Left the pronunciation from Buffalo Bills PR Twitter. Thank you very much for that. And Tim Harris. So let's talk about Kereth White first. So Kereth White, 5'10", 204 pounds, second year. Let's see here. Florida Atlantic, 7th round, 222nd overall pick by the Bears in 2019. It was previously at Florida Atlantic. He's played in 6 NFL games, appeared at running back and as a kick returner. So again, Buffalo kind of, maybe that injury to Marquez Stevenson was like, maybe we should bring a little more special teams help. He did play with Devin Singletary at Florida Atlantic from 2016 to 2018. So Buffalo was definitely familiar with him just from scouting Devin Singletary. That makes complete and total sense. He averaged in college 26.1 yards per kick return. Did take 2 back for touchdowns. 38 games, 1,358 yards and 11 touchdowns on 238 carries. Good numbers, but guy can fly. I think he's a 4.37 guy. He can fly. Kereth White can fly. Tim Harris, 6'1", previously with the 49ers, only played a couple games, actually played against Buffalo in 2020. Really only played special teams so far in the NFL. As it stands, he was 6th round pick, 198th overall, 2 career games with San Francisco, I believe. Earned his degree in anthropology. So that's kind of interesting. Again, once you start talking about where Buffalo and what Buffalo is signing, a large part of this is depth still, right? You're going to lose somebody, and that's going to happen, right? You're going to lose players to injury, and that's going to happen. The question really becomes, if you don't re-sign players at that same position, like you lost Forrest Lamp, but you didn't bring in another offensive lineman. So that means a little bit, it's probably you get a little bit more down the road with Bobby Hart, everybody's favorite sacrificial lamb at the tackle position. I remember saying the same thing about Marshall Newhouse. I think we all remember how that went. But hey, the Bills traded Marshall Newhouse for a draft pick, and Bobby Hart has played. He has played and started in the NFL, so I'm sure he's got a spot somewhere. I don't think it'll be with Buffalo, but again, the health of Deion Dawkins is what's so fascinating to me, right? So you lose Forrest Lamp and you replace him with a kick returning running back and a 6'1" corner. Okay, well, you said you needed some help at the cornerback position, but you're probably looking for special teams help at that cornerback position. Saw Sarah Neal play some corner. This last preseason game was okay. I've really kind of been a little disappointed with Dane Jackson so far this preseason. It is what it is. I'm high on him, so I'm willing to be patient, but Buffalo is doing the smart thing by bringing him some cornerback help at this point. But again, you're kind of looking at special teams help if you can. Let's see here. Stephen Collins grasping at straws on Bobby Hart. Listen, lightning in a bottle, man. Lightning in a bottle. Pepe says, is Tim Harris any good? Really no NFL tape on him. He's only been 2 games, primarily playing special teams. So not much there to really tell you. This one gets me. John Venner on anthropology degree. Maybe he came here to study Bills tailgating. I will say that the tailgate, the tailgate for a Bills game is something that is ripe with an education for those who want it. It is definitely a study in I would think you need a sociology degree, not an anthropology degree, but hey, to each their own. So Brandon Beane continues to work some magic, and it's, again, kind of behind the scenes. I wouldn't be shocked if you see somebody like Powell released in the next few days. Brandon Powell really just hasn't looked great. Kick return game 1 didn't look great. Was kind of, I don't think he gives you anything that you don't already have. So you may start to see some of the purge at the wide receiver position. We'll see. Again, I kind of just anticipate Tim Harris being a camp body. You take a look at special teams corners because you need to find special teams depth at key positions, right? And sometimes you have to sacrifice premium positions like a corner in those special teams roles. A lot of times the Bills have been tapping their safety depth for that. Not so much the cornerback room, but primarily safety. Safety depth has been tapped for special teams help. Might see a shift there where Buffalo starts shifting some more of their cornerback help into special teams roles, and that's perfectly fine. I don't expect Tim Harris to be around for too much longer, but you getting a look, there's absolutely no harm, no foul. You put Forrest Lamp on IR, and you gave a veteran goodbye to Duke Williams, kind of doing him a favor, letting him try and catch on with somebody while rosters are still big. So this is a Bigfoot anthropologist, and I do want to talk about John Veneron, Study Bills Tailgating. We'll be doing I don't even know how to pronounce that. I'm not going to pretend to be educated about this. I went to a community college, guys. I'm not going to pretend to be educated. I don't even know how to say that word. Apex. I'll be interested to see if Harris will be better than the UDFAs we have. Well, any player with NFL experience, because he's been with the 49ers for a couple seasons on the practice squad. Kereth White, I would kind of anticipate picking up some of the kick return duties if that's really what he's here for. I think you saw what you want to see out of McKenzie. I think you saw what you want to see out of Marquez Stevenson. And then, of course, obviously a little lagging injury there. I probably don't want to take too many chances. Bringing in somebody else who's got kick return ability that's not named Brandon Powell, I do kind of support. I'm okay with that. You probably want to take a look there anyway. All players that still have practice squad eligibility, so you can bring them on really at any point. And that's part of the next piece of this, right? So if you want to put a player on your practice squad, you have to waive them, right? It's the only way to get them on your practice squad. But you can't put players on practice squad right now. You have to wait until you get, down to the 53-man roster. Then you waive your players, see if, who gets picked up by what organization. If a player gets waived at the 53-man roster time, they have to be put on another team's 53-man roster. You can't pick up a player off of waivers and put him on your practice squad. That's not how that works. You can pick up a player off the 50. When you pick up a player off of waivers, you have to put them on your 53-man roster. So that's what I mean when I say a veteran goodbye for Duke Williams. That's perfectly fine. Matthew Harmon, do we know what the injury was to Harris? There's no injury that I know of to Harris. Tim Harris, there's no injury that I know of to Harris. Marquez Stevenson, I know, looked a little lame after a couple offensive series. So that's what I know of. If you know something I don't, that's totally fine. Chris Spencer, aloha, #sports. Always happy to hear from Chris. So that is the deal, my friends. Forrest Lamp, done for the year, cannot be activated. Again, if you put any player on IR at this point, that's going to be what happens. They are done for the year. They cannot be activated. They cannot be part of the players to return later. Can't do that, right? If they're put on the IR now, they're done. Forrest Lamp is really just on a 1-year deal basically anyway. So putting him on IR just allows you to keep him in your strength and conditioning program. He'll still work with the trainers. He'll still have access to team facilities. He'll still have full use of the facility while he's in recovery. So that's an interesting thing to note, right? Is that Forrest Lamp was placed on IR and not released with an injury settlement. Sometimes you'll see teams do that. They'll put a player on IR, end a season, then waive him with an injury settlement, saying, "Listen, this is how much money we'll give you to just go away. You can sign with somebody else. That's fine." Buffalo's giving him access to team facilities, much like they did with Leadrian Waddle. So Leadrian Waddle, I don't think ever hooked up with another team after he was put on injured reserve by the Bills. And the Bills kept him on IR all season. For what reason, I'm not entirely sure. I don't know if that's just a culture thing. I'm not sure. I'm curious, but I don't know. I do think it's important to note that thanks so much, Bigfoot, for the definition. Or that's Will Moore, excuse me. Will Moore. Actually, it does sound more applicable than anthropology, so I very much appreciate that. Black Ocean Society did say, "I'd like the Bills to have a running back with a 40 time a little higher than my JV high school lineman." Breida hasn't looked great so far. I am the biggest Matt Breida apologist. I will not be objective here at all. Don't ask me to be. Not going to happen. I'm the biggest apologist. The biggest apologist. John, I should be embarrassed by that. I'm an advisor at a university. Listen, we all have parts of our life that we can improve. It's never a bad thing to get a reminder of the stuff that sometimes you could be a little bit better at. Duke Williams got to find a new team. His NFL career may be over, although with the way he played in the preseason, he'll probably get looks from other teams. I don't know how long it'll be, but there's no reason for him not to be on an NFL team somewhere. Definitely has the talent to do it, just not a fit for the type of football that Buffalo was looking to play. And plus, he was replaced by a younger Gabe Davis, so that role was very well filled. Great comment that pointed that out. Forrest Lamp is done for the year. Tim Harris and Kereth White are going to be likely your fodder for the fourth Bills preseason game. As we know, the third preseason game is going to be. I still expect to see. I expect to see Josh in the third preseason game. I know what everybody's saying. The offensive line played long enough and looked good enough to trust being able to put Josh back there for a little bit. I know they were working Dawkins back. He played a lot longer than I think even Mike and Tommy on our tailgate show kind of anticipated. Totally understandable. And we'll see what happens. Pepe Laugh. We'll take one look at a universal comment real quick. First off, Matthew Harmon says, "Hey, what's going on, Rick Rarick?" Rick is there for, he's actually part of the hashtag golf tournament, which is going to be September 11th. If you're not registered, it's in the description of this video. Go register for the hashtag golf tournament. We're going to do a live show right afterwards. You get dinner, golf with Cart. We're going to do contests on the course. We've got a bunch of stuff to give away. So we're really, really excited about that. It all goes to benefit Matthew 25 Farms, a farm that literally donates almost all its produce to local food shelters and food banks, an amazing organization. And Rick he does incredible work, and we're so thankful to be a part of having him in our life. Really, it's touching stuff they do. Pepe says, "Are you impressed with Rousseau, Basham, and Epineza, or is it bad opponents they faced the last few days?" here's the biggest way that I could tell you guys to watch the next preseason game. And I said this to somebody somewhere else, and I'm just going to bring up, and I think this is really, really important to mention, right? It is really, really, really important to watch how the pass rush gets there, right? Is Rousseau getting benefit from the defensive tackles? Okay, who are the guards that the defensive tackles went against? Are they getting there with just 4, or are they bringing pressure? We've seen Rousseau benefit from really, really good defensive tackle pressure, right? Both sacks I've seen from Rousseau came with a really great defensive tackle pressure. And the big takeaway there is who's the guard? Who's the quarterback, right? Who's the center? Who's calling those protection schemes? And was it a 4-man rush, right? That is the biggest thing I can say about knowing whether that defensive front is doing its job. Are they getting home with 4? Who's responsible for calling those protections? Because that's the big thing. Am I impressed with what I've seen so far? Yeah, how can you not be, right? The production's been there. It's been wonderful. Can't complain about the production so far. But the reality is you have to look at how are they generating that. I've seen it primarily from the defensive tackle position. That's why losing Harry for a little bit is depressing, because I thought he's played pretty well. I thought he played really well. Ed Oliver is going to become more and more important to generating that defensive pressure, so that way you get Rousseau and Basham singled, right? You get Jerry singled. That's what you want. That's how this pass rush is effective. Get those 3 guys singled, and we should be okay. We'll see. I don't know. Groot is the truth from DH. It's been impressive, man. And it's not just speed, which is what I love. He hasn't been cutting the edge as hard as I thought he would. I kind of expected him to cut the edge really wide, Jerry-esque. Because let's be real, Jerry's angles are pretty rough sometimes. Rousseau's been taking on tackles pretty head on, and it's been impressive. So we'll see if they can continue to generate pressure with 4. That's a big key, man. If you can get those linebackers hunting, this defense is going to be nasty. And that's why I don't mind. You want to go bring in a special teams cornerback? Go ahead. You got the depth. Go ahead, do it. Right? You want to go bring in a running back that's got kick return ability and just take a look? Go ahead. Have a great time with that. You're going to need, you have players that you need to protect on this roster through the 4th preseason game. I don't mind this at all. Matthew, DLC. Paul, what's your handicap? I play golf like 1 weekend a year. So, and I'm pretty decent still. So I'll shoot like 84, 85. And I only play 1 weekend a year. And it's been like that for the last like 10 years. So if I played every day, I'd be pretty darn good, but I don't. And that's why the hashtag golf tournament's going to be so great. September 11th, make sure you sign up. Thank you to Mr. Rogers Holmes for making all of this possible. And thank you guys all so much for joining me on this live stream. New look, right? We got a ticker. We got some logo thing over here. Where's my hand? There it is. I am not a weatherman. I do not do this well. Make sure you join Tommy Talks from Bills Mafia, the Bills Mafia Sports Report from Twitter, and Apex 00. Make sure you join them. Tailgate Talk here, 7:30 Eastern Standard Time every Friday. We've got more regularly scheduled programming coming up, or we're in the midst of adding some more programs to you, so that way you're getting regular hashtag content every week. And of course, as always, go Bills. Thank you so much. And yeah, that'll be that. I will talk to you guys soon. Have a wonderful day. And yeah, go Bills. Come join Paul and Mario at Diamond Hawk Golf Course Saturday, September 11th for the hashtag Sports Not So Invitational. Come golf with these idiots in this 4-person scramble, which will feature golf with cart, dinner, hole-in-one contest, silent auction, and a live show with all proceeds benefiting Matthew 25 Farms. Registration can be found in the description of this video, and if you'd like to sponsor, email us at htagsports@gmail.com to help raise money for this great charity.
You? Are you signing up for that? I'm not.
All right, good night, everybody.